say something.
Now we're into the R18 part of the evening. And our wonderful panelists. When she's not tied up at the Sydney Hellfire Club, Jackie McMillan writes restaurant reviews for 4 inner-city newspapers owned by the Alternative Media Group. She blogs about food under the moniker Miss Dissent. Does my bomb look big in this? While their evenings are nicely divided between dining in Sydney's most exciting restaurants, writing, and fetish pursuits, you've got a good job, girl, don't you? Her daytimes have included a stint at the Sex Workers Outreach Project, and after more than a decade producing pornography, she felt it was a perfect way to combine her academic achievements in women's studies and philosophy and her gutter mind. Please welcome Jackie McMillan. Also, we're very excited to welcome Cindy Darnell. Cindy is one of Australia's leading sex therapists. So I really meant it about the Q&A. If y'all have questions, now's the time to get them out. She's got 20 years experience studying human sexuality from the clinical to the esoteric. Esoteric being tantra, esoteric.
Yeah. Outside of the square.
Outside of the square. She's frequently called up to comment in the media and counsels individuals and couples on issues related to sex and relationships. She runs comprehensive and entertaining educational seminars. I've got so many questions for you. My head's just like, bang. Like, I might have to hire you. She's uniquely placed to be able to bridge the world of sexology from a variety of human perspectives and approaches that. Please welcome Cindy Darnell.
Thank you.
For people here who might not know the Hellfire Club, fill those of us in that haven't been or don't know.
When I was a little girl, I grew up with a handicapped sister, and I think when you have 2 kids in a family, one becomes good and one becomes bad. I was the bad child. And the Hellfire Club was this thing that I heard about, and it was where the bad people went, and I was about 18, thereabouts, and I thought, I'm going to go and find my people. So I went to the Hellfire Club, and on my first night, I got tied up and whipped, and I went, wow, I've come home. And I guess I've never really left. Like, that's been the club I've tried to produce, a place where the black sheep in any family can walk in the door and find people that will love and care and respect them while at the same time having really dirty sex.
Excellent. So let's talk about dirty sex. Cindy?
Yes.
Do people need to be coached? How do you coach someone on dirty sex? Or how do you give people therapy in order to have dirtier or more, shall we say, more fulfilling or hotter sex?
Okay, good question. Look, it's not something that one can just... I mean, certainly one can fall into it, but ultimately sex is most fulfilling when you have an interest in what you're doing. If you are being coerced into it, or if you are sort of just blindly following along and not doing any degree of self-inquiry. And what I mean by self-inquiry is, am I interested in this? What am I interested in? Do I want to be doing this? And what is it that really attracts me? And what I find particularly with women clients, regardless of their orientation, is that there's often a split between what women feel and what they think, because of the way that women are conditioned to be in society, because we, I think to a very large extent, are conditioned to sort of bear the burden of being the moral kind of guardians of what happens, that a lot of women feel, or a lot of women think, that it's not okay to embrace their sexuality, it's not okay to really go there, whatever going there means for them. And women's fantasies, and certainly Nancy Friday, are you familiar with Nancy Friday's work from the 80s and the 90s, where she did a lot of exploration into women's fantasies, and they were wild. They were risque, they were out of the box, and women who identified as gay were having fantasies about men, and women who were into men were having fantasies about women and animals and all kinds of things. And this is actually completely within the realms of what is normal for a human being. Sex, most of my clients come to me initially because they want to know, am I normal? And my answer all of the time is yes. Yes, you are. Because sex is really fucking weird. Which is what makes it so exciting. you know?
Yeah, and it's when it's not weird, it kind of loses its flavor.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Once we start trying to tame it, it starts to lose its essence. And there are a lot of reasons, I guess, for taming it if we're looking at sort of family structures and that kind of thing. And we made an agreement that we weren't going to talk about that tonight. But I understand the reasons for wanting to tame it. I get it. But when I see women, couples, singles, whatever, coming into my practice and they're like, oh, you know, I really love him, her, them, but I've just lost my sex drive.
The lesbian bed death.
Well,
you all wanted to know, right?
The
Lesbian
first
bed
thing
death.
I
Why
ask
does it
them
happen?
is, what turns you on?
Yeah.
When it's just you and your thoughts, there may or may not be a hand or a vibrator involved. When it's just you and your thoughts, where do you go? Some women freeze at that point because they don't go anywhere. They've never given themselves the permission to go to wherever that place might be. Others, on the other hand, are like, well, and off they go. And I'm ready for both. And then there's variations of combinations of what happens in between as well. But the biggest thing, going back to your question about what's the key ingredient to coaching someone around dirty sex or any kind of sex, it's permission. It's okay. It's okay. We talked about consent. I'm not going to talk about that because it's been talked about. That's a ground rule. Other than that, it's okay. You are okay just as you are.
And Jackie, how do you keep that spinning? I mean, 18 years you've been doing Hellfire?
Yeah, I keep it spinning on the energy of the people that come. They all come with the same worries that they come to you. And I kind of approach it in a similar way, but I'm more crash or crash through. In 40 odd years, I haven't broken anyone yet, and I figure chances are most people won't. So I believe in consent. I know we don't want to talk about it again, but I kind of think consent's a bit more fluid, and I don't mind a little bit of coercion every now and again.
18 years in Hellfire, that's crazy, right?
Well,
That's
it's a 21-year-old nightclub now, so I turn 40 next month.
Congratulations.
And I've been doing it since I was 19, so it's kind of odd to be something that you started at 19 and then still be doing it at 40, but it brings a lot of joy. I mean, pleasure is fun. All of my jobs are about pleasure, be they at SWAP, at the Sex Workers Outreach Project, porn, food porn. Like, it's all about the good bits of life. And I think that we heard a lot before about the preconditions to having good sex, but like now you should all be having it.
Yeah, totally. And have you seen anything change? Like, are people's behaviors changing, or is sex and food is sexy and love is sexy, and is it changing? Has things changed?
Look, the political climate that we're in is depressing, but I find that the more depressing the political climate, the more people act out. So Hellfire gets a big resurge every time we have a Conservative in.
Really, do you get more people in when we get a Liberal
well, the
government?
average person now thinks that they're deviant because they're not like Tony Abbott.
There's something inherently wrong with that, isn't there?
Well, there is, but it actually works. It worked with Howard as well. You know, when we have a really open-minded Labor government, people are actually pretty okay about things. They don't get pent up. Whereas they come to us now and they're anxious and it's going to be difficult, and we're like, look, it's not that hard. It's going to work out for you.
And Cindy, would you agree with that? Do you get more clients when we have a Liberal government?
Look, I haven't noticed that, but maybe, I guess. The clients that I have, they're really all sorts. I have a good mix of straight individuals, queer individuals, straight couples, queer couples, gay couples. I tend to not see a lot of gay men, and not because I don't want them, but for whatever reason they maybe think, what would she know about what we have, and maybe they have a point. But I see a lot of a variety of people, but the main thing that they all want to know about, and like I said before, they want to know if they're normal. So there's been some kind of catalyst, some kind of thing that has brought them there, and maybe it's been... it's not always a catastrophe, so it's not always that I see people at their worst when there's some kind of crisis. Some people come because even though I am a sex therapist and I can therapize people. It's like not as opposed to pulverizing. I therapize them, but I'm also
I
a sex.
pulverize.
Yeah.
We make a good team.
You got a great team.
But I'm also a sex educator. So in that, people have a lot of questions and they want to know stuff. They want to know. They want to know about the mechanics. They want to know about the emotional component. They want to know about the taboo component, and I think that's been a thing since humans were invented. People have always been curious about what goes on inside. So a government, just like a church or a synagogue or a temple, doesn't seem to make a whole lot of difference, because sexuality cannot be removed from the rest of what's going on. It's like when there is an influential force hanging over us, sexuality does not then cease to exist.
Exactly.